Rav AC, and as usual we thank our good friend Rav AC Feuer for organizing the shiurim every Sunday night. I was asked if I'm going to speak halacha, machshava, tells the shmuzins in machshava called shiurei das. And Rav Feuer, the friend of Rav, whose yard side is this Friday, Erev Shabbos Kodesh Chaf Kislev, used to call his sichas Hilchos Deis. So tonight we will go into the Hilchos Deis of Chanukah. And these Hilchos Deis are particularly significant at this time because, although unfortunately Klal Yisrael is we're melumed b'Yisurim, however, the massacre in Har Nova of a few weeks ago is still reverberating, and the shock is still causing great confusion and pain in Klal Yisrael, and in particular Yerushalayim, Kroivim Lacholo. So perhaps tonight's Hilchos Deis Shir Das will help give us a better perspective on how to understand these events and all the events of Klal Yisrael, which are so confusing. We begin with a very simple question, which I really have not seen the Mefarshim address, and that simple question is that it's worthwhile to compare the Nusach of Al Anisim for Chanukah with the Nusach of Al Anisim for Purim. And it's amazing that they are so vastly different. Al Anisim, Al Purkim, Al Aguras, Al Chuas, Al Neflois, Al Nechamas, Al Nechamais, the Chamais, Al Nechamish, Asisla, Vashem, B'mim,Ehen, Bizman, Hazeh. Purim, B'mei Mordechai, Esther, B'shushan, Abira, Yishamad, Aleim, Ham, the Russia, B'kei, Lahashmid, Lahare, L'Abe, L'Skola, Yehudim, Minar, V'adzokin, Kaf, L'Hashim, B'yom Echad. We have the plot of Haman, B'shleisha, Asar, L'Chodesh, Shnei Masar, L'Chodesh, Ador. U'shlolam, L'Vos, V'ata, B'rachamecha, Rabim, Eifartas, Atzaso, Kilkaltas, Machshavto, Hashivosel, of Mula, B'rosho, V'salu, Aso, V'ezbono, V'alaitz, V'sisim, Moim, Neisa, Pella, Noid, L'Shum, Chagol, Everyone says that, but everyone says V'salu, Aso, V'ezbono, V'alaitz. Short and sweet, very pashut. There's a plot, there's a defense, Haman's hanging, finished. Now a word is mentioned, now a word is breathed about the new Yom Tov called Purim, about Mikra Megillah, Matanas Lavyanim, Yudamites Ar, V'simcha, V'sasam, V'yakar, Gomnish, nothing's mentioned about killing all the Amalekim, Mamish, cause and effect. Haman wanted to kill them, and you, Rabbi Rachmanis, and you messed up his machshava, and they hung him on a tree. Alayed. Very bekitzer. Chanukah, poetic license to the max. Oh, wow. Now, but bigger riches here. Raftes Rivam, Dantes Dinam, Nakamtes Nikmasam, Masarti Giborim Yad Chalosha, Rab Miyad Machtim, Tmei Miyad Taharim, Shoyim Zadikim, Zay Miyad Ezer Secha. So much detail here, so much detail. Surprised to get away with this. You know, people have finished davening quick, and this was not, it wasn't even Nash Knesset Agdoila, it was later, got away with such a long nusach. And then, Ulachas, he says, Shem Gadol v'Kadosh B'Lamecha. Doesn't say anything about that in Purim. Made a big name for yourself, a holy name in your world. L'Lam Yisrael sees the Chua G'day L'Furkin Kayom Hazeh. V'Achan Gabo B'Nech L'Zir B'Yisecha Pino Sechalecha Tiris Mishneshecha Hidlik L'Ner T'Chatz Kodshecha Kav Yimei Shon Yishan Chanukah Elu L'Hoidas L'Halal L'Shimcha Agadu. We have a Kriyas Yom Tiv. We have Halal. We have, of course, the famous question of missing the Hadlakas Neiris. But still, much more in depth, much more details. How come the Chanukah Anisim is so vastly different and twice as long as the Al Anisim of Purim? That is our question. Another question. There's a well-known Ramban, one of the most famous Rambans in Parshas Vayechi, where the Ramban says that the Ramban is criticizing. He's saying that the Chashmonoim made a very major mistake. They were Kahanim, and a Kohen had no business being a king, a melech, and they were punished. They were wiped out. They were their own slave. The Chashmonoim ruled for 103 years, and exactly Mida Keneged Mida, Herod, Hordis, and Evan Knani wiped them all out. There's not one Chashmonoim left in the world today. And he was Melech for 103 years. Clearly Mida Keneged Mida. And the Ramban, in emphasizing the Pella that the Chashmonoim made such a huge error, says, despite the fact that the Chashmonoim were Chassidei Elyon, they were Chassidim, Chassidei Elyon, nicht Stam Chassidim. They were Chassidei Elyon. Maybe we change the name of the shul, not Stam Kal Chassidim, Chassidei Elyon. So, what does the Ramban mean with this new lashon? They were Chassidei Elyon. Chassid Elyon. This is a base Midrash Elyon in America, but Chassid is called a Chassid Kadosh, Chassid Rei Shamayim, Achad Ator. That's a new terminology that the Ramban calls the Chashmonaim Chassidei Elyon, supreme. There must be some message. Every word of the Rishon is valuable and meaningful. What is the meaning of the word Chassidei Elyon? And finally, two more points before we get into things. There's a Midrash. There's a Midrash Tanchuma in this week's Parsha Vayeshev, Ois David. It's a very long Midrash. I'll read it. Part of it, the part that's very salient for us. The Yosef who rad Mitzrayim. Yosef is taken down against his will to Mitzrayim. Zeh Shomer HaPasuk, a pasuk in Tilim Samach Vav, a bakant the pasuk. L'chu chazu mifalos Elohim. Go out and see. Go out and ponder the accomplishments of Elohim. Noira alila al bnei Adam. It's awesome. The alila al bnei Adam. Awesome. The word alila literally means a conspiracy, a plot. Alila's dam. Rahman is a conspiracy against Yidden. Noira alila al bnei Adam. Something contrived. A conspiracy. Hashem conspires kaviyachol against humanity. The Rabbi Shalom, Avin Shabbat Melech Rachman makes an alila, a libel against Bnei Adam. Naira, it's naira, it's awesome, it's petrifying, it's scary, it's awesome. Naira alila Bnei Adam. What does that mean? Amar Rav Yeshua ben Korcha, Av Hanayro Shato Mevi Aleinu. Ba'alilo atmaviyah. Even the amazing things you do for us, you do it like a conspiracy. In other words, it's like you're plotting against us. So he'll explain what this means. Everything you do which is good, ultimately, but you do it like a conspiracy. Boyere, for instance, partial example he says, Kishabara Kalim Baruch Zo'ilam, Miyam Rishon Bar Malach HaMavis. Malach HaMavis, even Rashi says Malach will create on the second day. The Midrash says that, but the Malach HaMav is on the first day. So from day one, death was programmed into this world. Men were supposed to die from day one, even before Adam was created. There was death. You made down Malach HaMav the first day. How do you know that? Because it says, Mishum Shenemer v'choy shechal pnei tahayim. The second pasuk in the Torah, v'choy shechal pnei tahayim. There was darkness on the surface of the deep. Zem malach hamaves hamakshich pneim shel briyos. Choyshech al pnei tahayim. It refers to the malach hamavish, which it's fafinster the panim from the belt. The malach hamavish makes our faces black by taking life away. He takes the radiance and the luster of life both from those who he takes away. And from the survivors, they're clouded and shrouded in doom and darkness. That's Choshech al Pnei Tahayim. Okay, so what? Valila nitla b'yishu hevias amisa loyla. Look at this. This is a conspiracy against man. Other Mishan didn't come till the 6th day. Everybody says, Other Mishan, you ate from the Eitzadas with Chav. You know what? From now on, you're going to die. Mois Thomas, now you're going to die. As if to say that Adam was one of the deaths of the world. Come on, Rabbi Shalom. That's not fair. You're already programmed into the world from day one that there's going to be a Malach HaMaves. What are you blaming for Adam Rishon? This is a conspiracy. It's Alila's down. It's a libel. Come on. As if Adam is responsible. Adam, Nitla boy, he is stuck on him. Shenemar Kibiyam Achol Vimenu, Mois Tamus. Marshal David Daima. Listen to this, Marshal. Marshal David Daima. Lemisha Vak the Garish Ishtoi. Fellow decides to get rid of my wife. I want to divorce my wife. So Kishabike Shleila for Beit, so Kosav get it. Figure that's it. Today I'm divorcing her. I don't like my wife, I want to get rid of her. So before he gets home, he stops off at the local basin and asks the cipher to write him a nice get, Lishma, L'Shem Gerushin, as you done by Riches, writes a get, comes into the house, I get the other, and he's looking for some alila, looks for some excuse. It's a plot. So he says, Plainest the Hannah, would you please give me a nice glass of water, please? I'm thirsty. So she gives him a glass of water. The minute as he's taking the cup out of her hand, he says, here, open your hand, please. Yeah, this is your get. You're out. It's over. Today we can't do that because Rabban Gershon said you can't do with the Garish your wife Baltarka. But once upon a time, she sticks out her hand to give him a glass of water, and he says, just hold it, once I have something for you, I have something in exchange for the glass of water, here it is, your get. No, it's over. So she says to him, what did I do wrong? What is she? He said, I come home after a hard day's work, and you give me a lukewarm glass of water. Either you give me a nice ice-cold Coca-Cola, or you give me a nice hot cup of coffee. What'd you give me? A push of the glass of water like this, Poishrin, nishta here, nishta here. That's enough reason to divorce you. So it's over. I like lukewarm water, Baruch. Ato Adonai, Eloheinu melech olam, shehakol niyeh bidvaro. Amen. So his wife says to him, come on. For Yisya Dei Shani Yasid the Libzay L'chol Place Kosher. Shekasav Laget Ve'Veizu B'Yodecha. Come on. This is a plot. There was a plan. This is foreplanned. You knew that. You knew. You didn't write the get after I gave you the glass of water, which was lukewarm. You had it written already. The wolves had to go, ready to put in my hand. It's not Lila. There's a plot. So too said Adam Rishon to Rabbi Shalom. Actually, Barasa Lomcha Kaidem Shnei Alaf Mishana. 2,000 years before you created the world, you made the Torah. You created the Torah 2,000 years before the world. Shnei Alaf Mishana. And said the Torah, Zois HaTorah Adam Kiyamas Bayal. The parsha of Paraduma. It says Zois HaTorah Adam Kiyamas Bayal. So you knew 2,000 years ago people were going to die. And you're blaming me, Nebuchadnezzar Rishon. You made it, the Torah was written 2,000 years ago. On the first day you created the Malach HaMavis. And then I come along and each day die saying it's my fault. What's going on here? So this is Noira Alila Bli Adam. It gives the Medrash gives other examples. And then one more example is, which is germane to this week's parsha, same thing with Yosef. Vayiru Echav Ki Oisai Aviyam. I think a parsha will show you all start being we said you already. And before you get to Shem, you're already holding by. The Achim are jealous of Yosef because their father loves Yosef. And because of that, they hate him, and he has his dreams, and they sell him down to Mitzrayim. And ultimately, what happens is that he goes to Mitzrayim. So it sounds like, B'shul K'taynis Pasim, Garam L'chol HaShvatim Leilim Mitzrayim. It looks like the reason why the Yidden went down to Mitzrayim is because of the K'taynis Pasim. Bad move on the part of Yaakov. Got his sons jealous. No, it's not Lila. You know, Rabbi, you said to Avraham Avinu already 100 years before, Yodoa Teda Kiger Yezerach Beres Lo Lahem. You told the Zayda Avram Yankov Zayda that you should know Yavram Avinu by the Bris Psalm. You told him already that your seed shall be in the land that's not theirs, Mitzrayim, and they're going to be slaves. V'avodim v'inu v'yisam. They're going to be in slavery. So in order for you to Mekayim that Gezer, which you made up 100 years ago, more than that, so what'd you do? You made a ganza baba ma'aseh with Yosef and his brothers. You made them hate him and everything. It's a conspiracy because you have an agenda. You, Rabbi Shalom, have an agenda. You have an agenda that has to be death in the world. So you made them reach in sin. And you have an agenda that there should be Yidden going down to Mitzrayim, and it looks as if it's because of Yosef. But you're really doing it, Rabbi Shalom. You engineered it because of your agenda, because you're Doya Teda. Kacha Kodesh Baruch Hu Mevakish L'Kaim Zeres Yedoya Teda Hevi Alila L'Kalelu Advarim V'Yardim Mitzrayim V'Koros Ashtar V'Nemar V'Yosef Hurad Mitzrayim. And there from that it says the pasuk L'Chu Chazu Mifalois Elohim Noira Alila V'Yadam. Look at the awesome things Hashem does. He's awesome in his planning and strategy. He makes all kinds of conspiracies and plots against humanity. As I state in the Midrash. So we have to understand what this means as well. What does this mean? It's very interesting, strange Midrash. Okay, and finally, one last question. Then we start getting some answers. The Gemara. The Gemara says in Megillah Daf Yud Beis, Zok the Gemara, famous Gemara. All these are well-known Gemaras. Bakam the Zachem, Yud Beis Mud Aleph. I'm sorry. Shalu Talmidas of Rav Shimon ben Yochai, Bar Yochai. The Talmid of Rav Rashbi asked him, Mitnei man nischayvu saneim shel Yisrael shebeisador koloi. Heilige Rebbe Rashbi, tell us, why in the time of the Megillah, why in the time of Haman, Esther, Mordechai, were the Yidden chayav kloya? It was a big miracle. It was a chasdei Hashem that the Rebbe Shalom didn't kill them, but there was a gzeira to lahashmid, lahabe, laharg, lahabe, eskol Yehudim narva. There was a gzeira, and it really was serious. It wasn't, somehow today no one gets scared. We know what the outcome is. It was really a shrek. It was really a shrek. We don't take it so seriously, but it was a shrek. Why? There has to be a reason. There's always a punishment to fit the crime. What was the crime? There's always a midah connected midah. What was that very they did? Mipnei man nischayvu saneim shel Yisrael Yidden shebeisador koloya. So, being a great rabbi, he says to them, why should I give all the answers? Think for yourself. So they said, because they enjoy Achashverosh's Suda without going to them. Not nice. They enjoyed the Suda of the Russia. So he says to them, if that's the case, only Yidden Shushan who attended the party should die, not in the 127 Medinas. So Adarabbi said, Rebbe, you tell us. He said the reason is because the Mishtach L'Tzelem. The punishment was because something happened before Achashverosh. In the time of the Nebuchadnezzar yet, much earlier, maybe more than 70 years earlier, the time of the Churban, and afterwards, the Nebuchadnezzar had everyone in the world bow down to his Tzelem. And the only people who didn't bow down were Daniel and Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. So since all the Yidden bowed down to his Tzelem, therefore they were Chayiv Misa. Okay. Now, this is a very interesting Gemara, because we're talking here about Purim, but there is no similar Gemara in regard to Chanukah. In Chanukah also, the Yidden suffered terribly, and the Beit HaMikdash was for all intent, was almost destroyed. The outer walls remained, but inside became a gymnasium. The Mizbeach was Mechulel, they brought Avodah Zarah, Korbanos, they brought sacrifices, with Davar Acher is on the Mizbeach, the Heilige Mizbeach. The place was defiled from top to bottom. Top to bottom became a Greek temple, Rahman Islam. I believe it was for 3 years. There was no avodah in the Beit HaMikdash. Just 3 years. It's amazing. People don't realize how serious this is. 3 years there's no avodah. It's terrible. And the Bach says it's because the Kahan were lazy. And when the Kahan start getting lazy, everything falls apart. The Kahan with his Rashlu Ba'avodah, they were lazy. Didn't bother showing up to avodah, so that's it. We'll close down shop. That's it. But the Gemara doesn't ask any place. Why this? Why the Gemara could ask? Why was the Mizbeach made over the Zohar? Why was the Beis HaMikdash made to a temple? The Gemara answers, "It's Rashlu." because they got lazy. But sometimes Yimacha Makara, Ubishiflus Yadayim, Tidlev Gag. So there's no such a similar Gemara by Chanukah. Only by Purim, the Gemara asks, what's the Bida connected Bida? There has to be a punishment. When there's a punishment, there must be a crime. So to explain all this, my dear friends, there's a very important yesod. Maybe you're familiar with, maybe you're not. But if you're not, it's very important to know it. It's mamish basic Judaism. Again, although it's not so well known. And if you know it already, it's worthwhile studying it even more in depth. And that is the yesod. I'm not in any way a great scholar of the writings of the Ramchal, Rav Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, but there's one yesod in the Ramchal. It's repeated in a few places, and in this form, which the yesod is just mamish basic machshev, the basic yesodis of how a yid should think, and how a yid looks at the world. It's so important. I think it's a life changer. You know this yesod. It's we have a whole different hashkafas haylam. We integrate all the events of our own personal lives and Klal Yisrael in general in a whole different way. It's very deep, it's very profound, but it's not hard to understand. So the Ramchal says, in many of his, again, he has in the Sefer HaKlolim, and he has it, the Das Tunis primarily, and he repeats it in quite a few places. I have primarily here, I'm going to quote you from the Das Tunis, where the Ramchal says you should know that there's two distinctly different ways how the Rebbeinu Shalom runs this world. Very important. He says, well, the way that we probably are used to thinking about is the way that's called Hanhogas Schar V'Oinish, which means exactly what it is, Schar V'Oinish. That's how we think. Everything, there's a punishment to fit the crime, and no bad deed will go unpunished, and no good deed will go unrewarded. And there's a cheshbon, there's a din, and there's a cheshbon, and the world makes sense. And there's a Rebbeinu called Elokim. Elokim means the judge, and the judge has the exact rules and laws. Elokim is the laws of nature as well, and the laws of nature are controlled by the laws of the Torah. And the world conforms to Torah and our Avodah, and the world makes sense. And if we look closely enough, we'll see exactly what's going on. The Gemara says, there's no Mises Beis, no Skila. If a person, Chal Shabbos, B'mezid, B'zman you'll see that he will eventually end up with something similar to Skila. He will fall off a roof, which is what Skila is essentially. You throw the person off a platform, and he dies from the impact, not from stones later on. It's the man who hits the stones, not the stones who hits the man. And the Gemara goes on. This person is chayav chenek. There's no bait to strangle somebody. So the person, Rahman al will drown. That's the equivalent of strangulation. Asphyxiation. So the world makes sense. The world makes sense. It makes sense. There's a cheshbon. There's a din v'cheshbon. There's a din v'cheshbon. We like living in a world that makes sense. It might be unpleasant to suffer the consequences of our failures, but we're happy to enjoy the rewards of our good deeds, and we enjoy seeing the wicked get their punishment, their patch, which they so well deserve. And of course, for ourselves, we figure the bunch of the Vatran, they'll forget about us because we're such nice people, and they come to davening, not just only 20 minutes late, but I come to davening, and I'm not such a bad guy, so I'll probably be okay. And anything I don't do tshuva before I give enough tzedakah that should be mechaper. So between my tzedakah, my good deeds, and things of that sort, so I'd probably get away with murder. Okay, but there's a cheshbon. Says the Ramchal, the world cannot, that's very nice, it's true, but by far that is not the only or the predominant hanhoga of the Rebbeinu Shalom. The real hanhoga of the Rebbeinu Shalom is not hanhogas schar v'oinesh, it's hanhogas hayichud. Hayichud means that the purpose of Hashem creating the world wasn't to be nice to the good guys and be nasty to the bad guys. That's what we're here for. We're here for one reason. Like we say every day at the end of Az Yashir, we say every day, V'alo Moshiach B'Har Tzion, L'shpodes Harisav, V'Yisol Adonai HaMelucha, V'Yoy Adonai L'Melech Al Kol Haaretz, V'Yoy Mahu Yiyeh, Adonai Echad, U'Shmo Echad. The purpose of the world is that ultimately the evil should be wiped out of the world. Wiped out of the world. And in the end it should be Hashem Echad, U'Shmo Echad, and all of history is to bring the tikkun of Hashem Echad, U'Shmo Echad. And if it would only be on Haggah of Schar V'Oinesh, then we have a very nice life here in Shari Chesed. And in Shari Chesed we built a beautiful shul, we have a base medrash, and we have a mikveh, and we have a very nice area for our neighborhood. We're enclosed here in a little ghetto. It's a very fine place over here, Baruch Hashem, and we daven, and we have shura, and we give tzedakah. So there's a lot of wicked people out there, and then there's a Medina called Tel Aviv. They do a lot of stuff over there that we don't do in Shari Chesed. But what's my business? It's all Zayin Tel Aviv, and I'll do what I want to do, and Savion and Kvar Shmuel, whatever, they can do what they want, and I'll do what I want, and I'll end it. Well, I'm doing what I want. I would take a Dolam Haba. I would take a Dolam Haba also. I'm doing all the nice things, and Chanukah Scharbain, I'll get rewards for my good deeds. There's as long as Bayashli, what goes on in Tel Aviv, what goes on in Manhattan, what goes on in London. Is that not my Bayah? But she says, no, it is your Bayah. Don't be so selfish. Don't be so self-contained. Don't be so egocentric. You make a huge mistake. My purpose is not that you should sit here in Shari Chesed and enjoy the good life and just take care of yourself. You're missing everything, my friend, everything. My purpose is Ushmo Echad. So if you think you can have peaceful coexistence between the good guys and the bad guys, and the good guys are in their ghetto, and the bad guys are in their metropolis, and you think I'm going to tolerate that? No way. That's the antithesis of the purpose of history. The purpose of history is that I have to wipe out the evil. I have to wipe out the darkness. The light has to overcome the darkness. So what do? Says the Rebbeinu Shalom. This is an Haggah that defies Schar V'Oinesh. I suspend the rules of Schar V'Oinesh, and I give what I call in English outrageous trespass to the powers of evil and the forces of darkness to encroach into the areas of light and to threaten the light and the goodness and the spirituality, the kedusha, the tahara in the good ghettos. I will allow evil to penetrate, and that's not penetrate, overwhelm and spread out in a way that's beyond comprehension. How could Hashem let this happen? Who, what, when? If it's Schar V'Oinesh, Hitler. What did Hitler's madman, this nobody, this painter from Austria, this Gornish, this Russia, this Sultan, what did he do that he should deserve to have power over the whole Europe and the whole North Africa and threaten there? It's a show. The ganze Welt sittet for who? Adolf Hitler's a Gornish, a nobody, a zero, a Gornish. What did he do to deserve such powers? What did Germany do to have such power over the ganze Welt? Now, well, we just think back, Baruch got rid of the Third Reich, 1,000-year Reich, only lasted 12 years. Big joke. It wasn't a joke, B'Shas Ma'aseh, as we all know. It was not a joke. It was very serious. What is it? Why the biggest tzaddikim in the world? Kiddush Hashem. Tzaddikim, tzaddikim went up in Auschwitz, 12,000 a day, Rahman al-Islam. And it's just today I was reading about how in Iran, 130 years ago, there was a huge shmad. 30% of the Yidden in Iran was shmaded up 130 years ago. I guess they had no choice. And the shmad in Spain, and the shmad in the Crusades, and the shmad in Bayis, the shmad in France. The world is soaked in either Jewish blood that was shed and is absorbed in the soil, or the Jewish blood that's in the veins of the Goyim together with the Yidden who were forced to shmad. Our history is one super tragedy, and to the extent that we're ignorant of Jewish history, we're ignorant of what Hashem's doing in this world. It's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah to know Jewish history. Without a sense of historic proportion, we have our whole munah, our whole tzugam to life is just missing. Zot the Ramchal that the Rebbeinu Shalom Dafke has anhogas ayich, which means he allows evil, darkness, v'choshech al pnei tahoim, to spread into the mokaimus hakadusha, the mokaimus ha'oira of light. In the outrageous way they trespass. What are you doing here, Hitler? What are you destroying Telz and Slobodka and Panovich and Volozhin? Who are you? What are you doing here? What are you doing to Vilna and Varsha and Budapest and the ganze Ungarn? What are you doing here? The Rebbe Shalom sent me. Why? He sent me so that you should wake up and realize that you got to do more for the Rebbe Shalom. We cannot have status quo. Status quo. The Yidden in the Hungary call the status quo Yidden. We'll just do the things our way, you do your way, but status quo, we're not going to change things. Yiddishkeit is not status quo. The world, history is not status quo. Hashem doesn't believe in just leaving everything azoy. The good guys on this side, bad guys on that side. No way. There has to be a reaction from the good. But the good people, we sleep. We're zen fashlafen. Very fashlafen. We're lazy, we're indolent, we're confident, and there's a few yechidim will go out, will go akir, will go great things, but most of us, Yishal Gafno, Tagas Gafno, Tagas Tenosa, I came to Israel to retire, leave me alone. No, said the Rebbe, I'm not going to leave you alone. I'm going to let Rishoyim enter into your lives in the most earth-shattering, horrendous way that's going to just shake you up and make you realize that you got to react now in a very great way to have a tikkun. There has to be a tikkun. There has to be more light, and more Torah, and more Kedusha, and more Chesed, and more real Rachamim, and more real Ava, and more Menschlichkeit, emes and Menschlichkeit, and more emes and Chinuch. You got to wake up. And the forces of light, which are so verschlafen, and suddenly, when something shocking happens, and the Chayshach is devouring us, we have to react in a very powerful way, a backlash, which ordinarily, under ordinary circumstances, we would not react this way, because everything is fine, status quo, leave me alone. That is Hanhogas HaYichud, which is called, says the Ramchal, Hanhoga Al-Yoina. And this is the Chiddush also, it's a long Arichas, I'm telling you, Ksei Mazlei, he says, these two Hanhogas of Schar Voinish and Yichud are intertwined one with the other in a way that it's impossible for any human being in the world, even Moshe Rabbeinu, even the biggest Nevi'im couldn't really comprehend when it's Hanogas HaYichud and when it's Schar Voinish. And you should know one thing, he said though, believe me, all those people who died Kiddush Hashem and died unfairly with Chayr. Why the tzaddik who was murdered over his Gemara, Rishtenda, the Bacher, the biggest master in the Chevron that was murdered, massacred in 1929, he was an American Bacher, Shmuel something, he was the first Bacher killed in the Chevron massacre because he was the base medrash 2 hours before davening started on Leil Shabbos because he was such a master. He was the first one who had his head bashed open by the Arabs in Machshumam Zakram. So why did that happen? That looks like Hanhogas HaYichud, but only Hashem knows what's Hanhogas HaYichud with Schar Voinish. He certainly didn't deserve that. Al Pi Schar Voinish, but you should know. So he died young, never. But says the Ramchal, since Lamaisa, the death of this young man brought Klal Yisrael Hisiris, and it's part of the. You can't look at history at individual events. You have to look at the whole picture of history. Since the death of this young man, the death of every Yid in the Holocaust, the death of all the Kedoshim who were killed this year in these brutal massacres, it's all part of a history pattern that only Hashem understands it. Slowly, Hashem is bringing the tikkun of V'hoya V'yomahu Yashem Echad Shmo Echad, and those who die or are punished or suffering as a result of this Hanhogas HaYichud, which seems to be so unfair, don't worry about it. They will get tremendous schar. They will get more schar. So in the Chanami in this world doesn't like to get schar vonesh, but in the next world, Hashem has the biggest derech eretz for them because they were, so to speak, pawns in Hashem's ultimate chess game called Hanhogas HaYichud, that everything works out according to what he wants. Bottom line is, the Ramchal, again, is a big arichas, I'm telling you, very bekitzer. There's Hanhoga El Yaina, the supreme Hanhoga of their Rebbeinu Shalom, which is beyond their comprehension. And only Hashem knows exactly how both currents of history are intertwined. But the Hanhogas HaYichud, which brings to Hashem Echad Shmo Echad, and allows evil, outrageous trespass, that's called Hanhoga El Yaina. This, my dear friends, I believe clearly that this is what Chanukah is all about. Chanukah, that's why, of course, the Chashmonaim are called Chassidim Elyon, because they had a little understanding of the concept. It's like we have understanding right now, what the Ramchal is saying. To say we understand the application clearly, that he says it's impossible for anybody to have the clear understanding of the application. But the concept, the Chashidim understood the concept that there's Anhog El Yoina, and there were Mamish Ma'atim, and they knew that their purpose was to stem the tide and to be a backlash against everything that the darkness, which is Malach HaMaves, and which is Yavon. They had mamish. They knew that there would be marchiv the Gevulas HaKedusha with everything they did. That's what the Mar Ba'or Chanukah, Moiseh V'Hoylech. That's what it's all about. Memela. That's why the Gemara never asks by Chanukah. Mipnei Man Yisrael Yisrael B'Yisador, all the tzaras of the Yavon. 180 years they ruled there. So 180 years. That's a long time. It's like from 1835 till today. It's a long. Knows how much history has come from 1835 till 2015. It's a long time. The Gemara doesn't ask that question. The Gemara asks the question by Purim, because Purim is Anhaga Schar Vaynish. Purim was a different Anhaga. It was Schar Vaynish. Haman tried to get us. We hang him. Alei that Mida Connected means he's gone. But Chanukah is not Schar Vaynish. Chanukah, the Gemara understands, is Anhaga El Yoin. You can't ask, why did we deserve? We didn't deserve to be punished on Chanukah. We didn't deserve that the base mission be taken over necessarily. God, a little lazy. Of course, it's a direct result. But the whole Chanukah is called Hanhogas HaYichud, and it's beyond the comprehension how it works. And therefore, in the Al Nisim of Chanukah, it's mamish awesome the way everything is very neatly choreographed to show us that for every trespass into the Gevulas HaKedusha, there was a backlash the other direction. So therefore it says, to make us forget the Torah, not just to kill us. And here we have again how when we are willing to Ma'aseh Nefesh, Hashem joins us, and we arouse Kaviyach of the Shechina, that the Shechina should join us in this repelling of the Taichas Hara and darkness. Raftas Riva, for everything they fought against us, you fought back for us against them. Dantas Dinam, Lakantas Nikmasam, Vasarki Gibam Yad Chaloshim, Rabbi Abdalka, there was a backlash, and everything they tried to do, we wiped them out even more. So in the end, there was more light. Connected every infringement and encroachment of darkness, there was more light. Tmei B'Yad Tahorim, Tahara took over the Tumah, Rishon B'Yad Tzadikim, Zayin B'Yad Izkir Zarasecha. So what you accomplish, Rabbi Shalom? This question not asked by the Purim. You made yourself a great, holy name. Gadol v'Kadosh, your name was greater and holier than ever before. The world's a different world. After Chanukah, it's a Naya Welt. After Chanukah and the Chashidim, there was never such an awe in the world like then. Never. It's another step in history. It was a quantum leap. It was a huge leap. It was a jump forward. That there was never such a lechos shem God v'kosh v'lamecha. And for us, it was also Gaval Yeshua. It released our inner koiches, the koiches that brought us to the era of Kanoyim, Amaroyim, the Torah Shebal Peh. We couldn't have had a Torah Shebal Peh. We couldn't have steiged so much. There was no the whole Mishnah started there. Mishnah started right after Chanukah. Tanoyim, the Tkufa Tanoyim, essentially was concurrent with Chanukah. But this Chanukah unleashed a new koyach and Klal Yisrael that was dormant and silent and fashlofen for a long time. Like the Swasema says, what's the difference between Halal and Haidah? Halal is directly on a good thing, and Haidah means, like Lashon Moide, that now we look back on the bad things that happened to us, we see how it was also good. Lahalel is Lahalel on something that's clearly good. Things are great, we have a victory. And Lahoidus means I can look back even on the bad things that happened, and now on Moide I see that even the bad was really Latoiva. That's Lahoidus Lahalel. So this is essentially what Chanukah is all about. It's a murder Yom Tov. And that's exactly what the Medrash Tanchum is saying. This is the way the Rebbeinu are always like that. Noira Halila. It's a conspiracy. Hashem planned death a long time before Adam L'Chava. But he gave a world that looks like there is Bechira Chavshis. There is Bechira Chavshis. We have free choice. But yet, Hakol Tzafoi. for Rishus Nesuna. It's the greatest enigma, the greatest riddle, the greatest mystery of the Jewish philosophy is how could it be Hakol Tzafui? Hashem has a whole plan already, and yet the Rishus Nesuna. That's what he does. Rishus Nesuna means Schar Vaynish. We have Rishus to have Bechira and decide what to do, good or bad. So Midach Yisak Kol Tzafui. On the other hand, Hashem has the plan all figured out already, and he knew there'd be Mavis in the world, and he knew that Yosef would go down to Mitzrayim, and the Achim, Yosef is rewarded for what he did. His brothers are punished for their sin against Yosef. But the truth of the matter is that they were pawns in the hands of Hashem. Noira Alila of the Adam was a conspiracy because Hashem told Avram Avinu hundreds of years before, Yodaya Degda Ki Yer Zerach Be'ez Lohem. Go figure. Only a bunch that can understand how this works. We have to do the Rav Hashem, V'yishtei Torah HaKadoshah. We also have to understand, though, that when we see things that don't make sense, it does make sense. The sense is that Hashem has a program called Anhogas HaYichud, and He's using us as a schus for us, when every tzaddik and tzaddik is to be used for Anhogas HaYichud, and so for every drop of blood that is spilled, there's going to be much more. There's been karnei hoid, and karnei oyer developed, and karnei simcha, and karnei Yeshua, and karnei Mashiach, and it's only through the spilling of this blood, as hard as it is to comprehend, dafka the kedoshim, dafka the finest and the best, that Rebbeinu Shalom, we get so fed up on, we say, it's time to really do tshuva, and it's time to make a real effort to fight back the Koyka Sarah. It's about time. Just one last thing. I'll conclude with this. Obviously, we could really, it's fascinating, this Anhogas HaYichud. I've gone through many of the sugyas in the Torah are understood with Anhogas HaYichud. But the one sugya which is probably the most perplexing is the Akedas Yitzchak, and I'll conclude with that. The Midrash itself says that how in the world did Avram reconcile Hashem, Rahman Kaviyachol, contradicting himself? First Hashem says, Ki Yitzchak Yikar L'Chazera. Hashem says, Yitzchak is going to be your eternal seed. You're going to build a nation from Yitzchak. Then he says, take Yitzchak, Valei Lola, go sacrifice Yitzchak and kill him. So Avram should have developed the kasha on the Rebbeinu Shalom. If the Rebbeinu Shalom did it to me, I would have kasha. I wouldn't say, I'm doing it. I would say, what? Rebbeinu Shalom, you just promised me, Yitzchak Yol Zera. Now you tell me to shech them? Doesn't make any sense. I mean, to kill, to kill a human being, my own son, what's going on? The teretz is Avram Avinu understood this Anhogas HaYichud. He understood that there's things we don't understand. He had no problem. He understood this is what Hashem wants. That he understood this in the Messiah, and Hashem is advancing the Koychos HaKadosh in the world by giving him this test, by taking his son away, by extinguishing the lamp, the light of Yitzchak, and something that looks like an absolute sheker, like the Rebbeinu Shalom contradicting himself, going back on his word. He says, I don't have the kasha, Rebbeinu Shalom. I know that you work in inscrutable ways. You work in ways that are beyond my comprehension. And that's what it says, he says, take Yechidcha, because this will be the son that will bring to the Yichud HaSholem. And it says, Vayechu Shneim Yachdav, which is the Oises of Yichud. Vayechu Shneim Yachdav, the Oises of Yichud. And everyone understands. We understand it also every day. We said today twice at least, usually much more, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. What does that mean? Here, Klal Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu. There's Hashem, which is Midas HaRachman, which is Havaya, which is really beyond our comprehension. Elokeinu is Midas HaDin. Elokeinu, Din means Hanhogas Char V'Einish. That is the punishment that fit the crime, and there's a reward that fit the good deed. Elokim means it makes sense. Elokim is a judge. Elokim means the world is fair. Is that fair? It's not low fair, it's fair. And Hashem means that there's an overarching anhag of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Hashem echad u'shmoi echad. Havai is the essence of Hashem. Elokim is just a description of the way he runs the world with Midas Hadin, which is schar v'oinish, which makes sense. It's fair. And there's Hashem. There we cry out every day. Shema Yisrael. Hashem Elokeinu. It's the same. Hashem. which is Midas HaYichud. Hashem Echad. And Elokim, you know what? Hashem Elokim, Hashem Echad. It's all one. It's all one. It's all one. It's all one. Hashem Echad. The purpose is that Hashem should be V'hoya V'yomu Hashem Echad U'Shmoi Echad. So I have no kasha in your Rebbeinu Shalom. So the kasha of the question that people could ask on where is God in Auschwitz can be asked on our dear friend, beautiful young lady who's right now at this moment in Hadassah in Keren. A young woman, a tzaddikus, of the most beautiful family. I hope she's still alive. She's dying cancer. If everybody's what's going to happen with, I don't know. Facing a lump of this and that, horrible things, just like that. Why? What? That's a Holocaust to her and her family and her friends, and the Klal Yisrael who cares. Every umlik in our own lives is a Holocaust. For us, every umlik is a Holocaust. Where's God? How can God do this? Such a wonderful tzaddikus. I just read the other day about an old Talmid of mine from 45, 50 years ago. It tells you we had a girls' seminary too. There was this wonderful young woman, Yafa Rosenthal, and I didn't even know she died in the summer, but they had a husband on her someplace. I was shocked. Such a tzaddikus, 6 children, and Kulei Torah, Kulei Chesed, and she died. Why? It's a Holocaust for her husband, her children, her family, for Klal Yisrael. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Both are equal. Hashem Elokeinu, it goes this way, it goes that way. One thing's for sure. Hashem Echad, the purpose is that someday it should be V'hoya B'yamu Hu Hashem Echad U'Shmoi Echad. Chanukah is that holiday of Hashem Echad U'Shmoi Echad. And it says in Merkvird Gezach that, since we're talking about Chassidim, the Heilig Gemara Nayim, this is my favorite sefer, the Gemara Nayim. The Heilig Gemara Nayim says in the Parshas Miketz, he says there's a remes to Chanukah and the Akedah. Very interesting. He doesn't speak about Chanukah Yichud. It says by Avram Avinu. It says Avram says Shulachan Poi Imachamor V'ani V'anar Neilcho Ad Ko. Me and the Nar, me Yitzchak will go Ad Ko. Ko, he says Chofei is Chofei Kislev, and the Nishtachadeh. And the Nishtachadeh is because of the Neitzu Chanukah. It says Masech the Midas that there's a soreg, there's a fence all around the Beis HaMikdash. And this fence delineates the point where Goyim cannot enter and only Yidden can go. And the Yevon was so upset that the Jews felt that they were more special than they Dafka let out their wrath on the soreg and made 13 pirtzas connected the word echad in the soreg, upartzu chaymes migdalai, to show that they can come in. They didn't destroy the whole thing. They Dafka left the standing, but we can go in 13 different ways. And the Midrash says in Midas that when the Chashmonai were victorious, they sealed all the breaches. They sealed the breaches and they put a sign. And every Yid who came to the Beit HaMikdash was mechuyev to make the circle all around Har Habayis and bow down 13 times, connecting the 13 breaches that were sealed by the Chashmonai. And that's why the remez is, Avram says, Ani v'anar ne'elcha ko, I and Yisrael go to the Madreg of Koi Chofei Kislev, V'nishtachaveh, and we massacre the Yud Gimel Shtachavayis of the Chashmonai. So in the Ma'aseh Kedah we have a remez to Chanukah, and as we see now, there's a deeper connection between Chanukah and the Kedah, because Kedah is just one of many examples of Anhogas HaYichud, that by doing something outrageous, it's outrageous, the Kedah. In the end, such a licht. What would Klal Yisrael be without the Kedah? The Kedah enriched us unbelievably. That's the Anhoga. So Eivos Gavin, that we should take these words to heart and think about them, and we should be, hopefully by learning the lessons of what Chanukah is really all about, we should be zocheh that we don't have to have these encroachments of outrageous trespass of the Koichas Hara, and we should finally package Mekayim B'ol Vashim B'Artzim L'Shpodas Haresa V'Hoisa V'Adnoim B'Lucha V'Hoyu Adnoim V'Melech and Koloretz V'Yomu Yadnoy Echad U'Shmo Echad. V'Lechanayim L'Kashom Ezek HaLeBar V'Zak L'Shol L'Ficha V'Ol Tzar Mitzvah Shtom Elech V'Esaman Tzitko Yag L'Tzar V'Yadeh. Amen.